So for now, I'm going to continue the fine art of sanding until your fingers hurt. Ooh. This side is looking great. So this is where I made the panels and put them in. I think they're good. That's finished nitty grit for now. The B-pillar, sail panel, whatever you want to call that. That had a bunch of lead from factory that I took out. And I welded in some plates to make it flush. So now I'm going to roll it over, and I think I'll try to show you the other side as I hammer and clean up the drip rail. Remember, this drip rail I took off in sections and then welded it back on so I could get in here and get a complete weld at the base. I'm going to use a self-leveling drip check sealer to fill up that groove. My one of choice here is this 3M 8310. I've used it before. It's really good on flat areas. If you had a drip rail that went all the way down here, that might not be your best choice because it flows and it would run right off the end. So we're going to flip this up the other way. I guess we're going to flip it this way. So you can see what the heck goes on. Yeah. That side's good. Okay. So I want to pick this up a little more. Okay. So I'm looking down here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a spoon in behind here and get this straight. I'll give you a shot of that. So you can see it looks like an old railway track on a hot, hot day. So I'm going to go in with the spoon and tap that all straight. And then I've got to go across here. I may even have to do a relief cut. I have a high spot here, just at the time. Most of that's pretty tight, but I'm going to tap this just a little bit in here, which pushes that up. So I shall commence the hammering, get my body hammer in my spoon. Actually, I'm going to use a leaf spring. A leaf spring is nice and flat and fairly wide. And like some of it, you can use your cross peen. It's actually not that bad. I'm just turning the hammer sideways with the cross pin. Really cool if you can actually see it. I hope you can see it. So you just tweak it. Whoop. Right on. I mean, it's really simple, but it takes time. And again, this is going to be right at eye level. And it doesn't mean that we don't make stuff straight just because it's below eye level, but it's very important. I have pigeons living in my attic, 3 of them. Did they leave in winter? They're driving me freaking nuts. There used to be a grain elevator in town here, and when they tore it down, half the pigeons moved over here. Okay. All right. So, the drip rail is going to be all right. By hammering in here, again, that raises up the center. Yeah, that's getting really tight. Don't like this one. Gonna grind it a bit first. There's a bit of a weld I hadn't really finished. I may even have to use a spoon to do some hammering here, but first I'll grind it a bit more. This is just taking your freaking time, because it saves you time and body work. And around here, body filler's $150 a gallon, $145 for the good stuff. This is another reason to try to do good metal work. Okay, here's the spoon. I'm going to slide it in behind here. Figure out where it is. in the village of Heist, we have a town dinner every Friday night, which is pretty cool. Time where you get to see who's out and about. It's good. Get to know the people in the community. Happens in small towns. It's pretty cool. Tonight is no different. Day and night, we all go to the Legion. Different groups volunteer and cook every week. And it's kind of cool. The world's kind of freaking nuts in some places. It's nice to still have a sense of community. Many places do. But should be appreciated. Now we're going to be going to somebody else's shop. Not this weekend, but the next one. And also I thought if people had some questions, I thought maybe I should do a live Sunday afternoons, 2-ish. If you have any input or thoughts on that, please let us know. Sunday afternoon I figured it's pretty quiet. And I try to take it easy on Sundays if I can. And then I can answer questions and figure out what people in the focus group are thinking or wanting to see. Speaking of which, yeah, I gotta call Cassidy today too. Make sure she's on deck to come up and help me finish this. There's a bit of a high spot in here that I'm going to do a shrink on. I think, yes, a little oval here. Now, where they transitioned from this front to the back, it gets a little busy in here. They had a bunch of lead. I don't know how straight it ever was, but it's going to be straight when it leaves here. So, when you think you're almost done, you're not. So I'm going to do it right in here. I got a high spot, which is all right. There was a bunch of body work done there. You can see the grinder marks. There's some brass in here. And, oh, I see I got a little bit more grip rail work to do here. Not much. There is a big molding that comes all the way down on the Nomads. You can look that up. I had to. The difference when Lyle got this car, it was already in pieces, and that's a really tough way to get a car because you're not just sure what kind of clips went where or what order things need to come off. So you got to do a bit of your research and make sure you don't mess it up. Putting in these side windows is really difficult. There's a guy out there. He's got a channel, D&D. Ah man, I gotta look it up. He's from around Calgary. I've checked out a little bit of his stuff. He's a great guy. He went to Lyle's and bought a frame off of Lyle. And might be able, he's experienced putting these windows in. So we might be able to see him putting in those side windows. I'm actually thinking that I should paint around these openings and inside the car and then put the windows in, because I'm worried about it being so difficult that we scratch the paint if we wait until after the entire car is painted. So we're going to think on that. Talk to some people who've done more of these side windows than I have. And that's the fun of it. I mean, I don't mind doing something I've never done before. I'm probably going to put the new roof on the Firebird. Definitely going to put the one on my car because Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to fire up the torch. I'll shut this off for a second. Okay, going to do some more shrinkage. Yeah. So once again, let me know what you think of live. When's a good time, or if you have any interest in it, because maybe no one cares. But I can answer questions right away. I do get some pretty good questions. Putting water on all that beautiful, clean metal. Necessary evil. Okay, size of a dime. Now, if it was a big loose panel, I'd have to have someone helping me, and I'd be dollying in behind it. This is on a outside curve, so it's not as critical. I'm actually just moving the cold metal into the hot. So it's pretty simple. Yeah, almost got it. Another couple inches. So. If you're working at home, you can buy really small bottles. They're only like 1.5 feet tall. And that's probably a better thing to do because you don't actually use torches much. I pay rent on these bottles, and I probably only fill them up once every 1.5 years. I probably pay more on rent than I do on gas. But to buy the bigger bottles, it's pretty expensive. And if you own the bottles, every 10 years you have to send them in to get them tested and a new valve or change the valve. So they kind of figured out the rent, and fair enough. They look after all the maintenance on the bottles, and I just pay my bill. Okay, that's pretty freaking nice. One more over here. Oh yeah, just check in case, but no, this is beautiful stuff. Man, oh man. Yeah, okay. So, I'm shutting off the fuel until I have a definitive answer, which we will get. Shut off. Okay. Okay, so now we really want a sharp tooth in the metal. I'm going to grab, I'll shut this off for a minute. So, you know, when I stibble about how expensive these discs are, it's not quite as critical because we get to, once I wear out the initial one, I have about 3 different size arbors. They wear down small. They come in a couple different sizes. So I put on a smaller one and I cut them that shape. And I can cut them down a couple times. And these, you're gonna see, they really put in a strong profile. They gouge up the metal nicely. And that's what you want, because you want more surface area for the little bit of filler that you are putting on. It needs something to hold on to. So I will now use this. Then a little more up here. And I'm going to trim that down a little bit more. I've been using metal shears, but you can use scissors just like this. Oh, and make sure you check out Killer Customs, YouTube. JF is doing a bunch of stuff with that 50/50 Camaro, and it's a giveaway, and I highly recommend you check that out. They're at some races right now. I think they call it the duct tape drag. Now, Teresa was doing some racing, and it's some incredibly cool stuff. Yeah, okay, that needs to go in. On the other side, the front taper's in. It's nothing unusual. This is a very special 2-in-1 tool, hammer, air grinder. If you're wondering. Okay. Okay, that's great. So, whoop, a little more here. I forgot. And you know, just for the heck of it, I'm going to flip this thing upside down. I'm going to go over there, and first I'm going to fix up the bottom, so I don't have to look at it again. So I'll show you when I get to that. Flip it upside down. I'm going to grind a bit. Well, that's pretty simple. I'm going to mix some short hair, and I'm going to do the bottom and the face. Just a hair more. Sure. I'll mix this stuff up. Okay. Now we can put some glass on it. It's a tough little area to get in. I'm going to have to use the zip cut to cut the back edge. But for now, I just want to get it on the car. Because I really want to get this lip done. And there's seam sealant that goes between the window frame and the drip rail. I've got them all out right now. And I will replace that once I get the body work done. This is where I cut that gouge back in, and that's where the seam sealer goes. So, it's such a small area, it's kind of hard to get it just right. It couldn't be setting up already, could it? It's freaking cold. That's the thing. The temperature really makes it set up way freaking quicker. I kind of thought it was cold enough. It would be all right here. Okay, I didn't mix quite enough at the price of materials. I'm being a little bit timid. So, anyhow, I'm going to let this kick, sand it while it's wet, and then, when I'm happy with the bottom of the drip rail here, I'm going to flip the car back up, and I'll do the top side of the roof where I can see it better. Okay, as usual, it's pretty green. Okay, so at the bottom side, and I'm going to flip it up the right way. Then I can do the easy part. No, I'm not good at this. Nice. I gotta sand this still, this last little bit with the 80 grit. But I want to get this bodywork done, so I've got to mix up some more stuff to put up here. We can get that done right now. Nice and green. I don't mean the color. Nice and easy. Okay. But you get the idea. And quick and easy, less dust floating in the air. And I thought that hardened up a bit more. So, here's the driver's side. Finished. See that roof? So now that's ready to prime. I have some more to do on the other side, not much. I've got my glass done, but this is what it looks like, and then it's ready for primer. When I get that other side done, I'm going to have to roll Bailey's car out of the booth, and I'm going to put this one in and prime the roof. Then I'm going to flip it on the side, and I'm going to do underneath, because this has got to get on the frame. So that hasn't been too bad. Once you get the primer on, it's still got to be blocked quite a while. I'm also going to paint inside the underside of the roof skin. So for the rest of the day, I'm going to try to finish that other side to look like this. And then I can roll it into the booth. Happy Nomad Day. Cheers. Pretty good. That's the metal file. You can see those really coarse teeth. It's good for bringing this down even. It's odd, but when you're using these files, the first few just sort of slide across the top. And once it starts to bite, you can start to feel it dig. It doesn't take lots of pressure. And generally I use these on lead work, and I've got a whole bunch of different profiles, half round, all kinds of stuff for different shapes of lead you're doing. But this is actually coming out quite nice. You can almost tell the sound of it, that was pretty flat already. You just go back and forth. So if I'm gapping a door and I weld up a bead all the way down the edge of the door, I can grind it, but to finish it with this file makes it perfectly straight. And that's how I like to finish them. Because the grinder is just too narrow to make it just exactly what you want. Oh, that's really hard to say. That's pretty nice. But they didn't bring it here to have it pretty nice. Yeah, that's a little more appropriate. Much happier. Okay. Just keep going at it. All right, I got this side. That means I still have to clean out the grooves. The grooves are there. I just got to clean them out with some 80 grit. But this side is now ready to prime. So I'm going to clean out the grooves. I think I'll go underneath and do a little bit of work. I'm going to pull Bailey's car out and I'm going to put this inside and I'm going to prime the roof of this with some Evercoat 4:1 polyester, and then I can paint underneath. Shit, I might even paint inside, who knows? But anyhow, that's a big freaking deal. There was a bit of hammering there. I was happy with the metal work, but you can always make it a little bit nicer, which we did. So now it's good to go. Just a little bit in the grooves. And I don't know when I'm going to prime that, but it'll be pretty quick. And then pretty soon, hopefully next week, it'll be going down on this baby. So we'll see. Anyhow, there you have it. Let me know what you think. Cheers. Good day. Pretty early in the morning. It's a big day, hopefully. Today, it's been a long weekend working on the roof. I've got the roof ready, but I'm going to put this down on the frame today. Good morning, honey. So I'm going to put it down on the frame and find out how much of the floor I have to cut out. Dad's going to give me a hand. Brandon might show up and help me out. But right now, just before I get to that point, I'm going to turn it upside down because it would be nice to finish off the rockers. And just so you can see what's going on here. Whoop, that doesn't work. So yes, I want to finish off the underside of the rockers before I actually put it on the frame. Okay. So now, you can see over here, I'll have to turn on the lights. Right there. Woohoo! Okay. So, I built new rockers and welded them on, but I got to hammer them a little bit, weld them up. I've got a couple spots like this I want to clean up on the floor. The body's going to come off the frame, but I want to put it down and see how much of the tunnel I have to cut out in here. Make sure everything else works. I got to make sure there's enough clearance here for the toolbox. And I want to cut access for the fuel pump. So, that's what I'm doing today. Should be a good one. I'm going to put some serious teeth in it. Alright. Cut it down to some nice sharp corners on it. Somewhere in here I have to cut holes in the bottom of the toolbox to make way for the fuel sending unit. And so I'm going to mark it here so that when I set the body down, I drilled a hole in about the center. And then I can look through and make sure I'm in the right spot to be centered on this. And I can adjust the holes that I've already drilled. I just drilled like a little 3/8 hole in the car, close to where they should be. And then I can put an access plate in so he won't have to drop the tank and exhaust and everything if he decides to do that. So I may roll this outside right now and set the body down, but I got to see if Dad's available. So see what happens here. But that's what I'm up to next, because right here it's gonna have to come out. I think this is all right from what I've measured. So what I did is I went to the frame and I measured up from the body mounts and I put a level straight across. And I'll show you what that was. So you see this level. So I set it up level bubble, and then I measured down to the body mount. See that? So I knew that the center of the transmission is about 7.5 inches. Now here it looks like I'm going to fit. Here I won't. So we're going to set it down with the hoist. And then I'm going to trim out just enough to make it work. In fact, I might just set the body down. In fact, there's a better idea. I'll set the body down. I'll put 2x4s under the front just so the body's sitting on the frame. I'll roll it inside. And then I can block it up a little bit. And at least I'm in out of the weather. It's pretty wet outside, so I don't want to leave all this bare metal sitting out there. So I think that's the plan.